All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Kentucky, where we've got the Bluegrass 135 here tonight in the Speed Racing Network Truck Series. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Brandon Domain. Brandon, how's it going, man?
It is good. As even off before we started, we were trying to figure out all these clinching scenarios with one race left before the round of 10. Got championship matches possibly being decided tonight on the team side. And oh, by the way, a track that this is the third straight season it's had a playoff race for the Truck Series, and for good reason. It's always got some great racing.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at all these individual and team clinching scenarios, and, you know, everybody says that they want a really close league and they want really, you know, a tight-knit group and all that stuff until you get down to this last week before we cut it down to 10 drivers. Then all of a sudden everybody starts freaking out about it.
Yeah, and I mean, for here in the Truck Series, it's pretty good reason. There's everybody still well alive to make it into that round of 10, or possibly more. As tight as it's been, we should kind of point out ties advance too. So we might see more than a round of 10 with how tight this has been. And really, you can almost ignore the left side of that page. They're all relatively safe, but everybody on that right side of the page is either in danger or they're just going to have a great race and hope some things fall their way. But look at that, 9 points good for Castellanos, 4 points good for Ruiz, and then all the way back down to 16th, Lucas Lyons are within 8 points of getting themselves into that next round.
Yeah, so definitely everybody in play on that right side. I agree with you. I think the left side is pretty safe. Michael Larch and Trevor Williams just finished the race, you know, that sort of thing. But Kyle Spees, I think just by him showing up tonight, he's basically in. The same thing with Blair Holloman and Michael Madden. So those three I don't think you have to worry about at all. Michael Larch, Trevor Williams just finish. And then Jose Castellanos and Jose Ruiz. Don't look behind you, but you got a lot of company.
Yeah, and to kind of give, and granted, pole position would be a factor here. We don't know that yet, but the clinching scenarios, it's real simple. If you're Jose Ruiz, the only way you can clinch outright is to win. Second or better for Jose Castellanos, and then you get into the 20s or higher for Trevor Williams, Michael Larch, and on back. 20th for those two, 27th for Madden, 28th for Holloman, 30th for Spees is what's needed tonight.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see a tie on that cut line here tonight. I just have that sneaky suspicion, but that's what happens when you have such a tightly wound group there. But now let's take a look at the team side of things. Last week's matchups, you know, fairly uneventful. There wasn't really a lot of closeness there in that, but look at the team standings. Nobody has locked themselves into the top 4 playoffs, but 2 teams dropped out last week.
And this is amazing too, because we got two weeks left on the Cup side of things still, and that's all already determined. We already know everything. We know the 1-2 matchup, the 3-4 matchup. Here on the Truck side, you still got 6 teams that have a reasonable shot of making the playoffs, and 5 teams that are mathematically still eligible to make that championship 1 versus 2 matchup. Currently, those spots being held by PBR and JW, but still only 1 win ahead of Zuyos, 2 ahead of Rat Pack, and we got some big matchups this week.
Yeah, huge matchups. So hold on to your seats, people. We're going to try to get you through it all. But JW Racing has Tank Racing. Tank's already been eliminated. If JW Racing wins this week and a few other things happen, then they lock themselves into the championship matchup.
Yeah, that is the case for them. They need a win. Another thing that they need is a PVR win, and PVR needs a win because that's one of the 2 things that they need to have happen to clinch a championship match. They go up against Rat Pack, who's still trying to hang on to that. They enter tonight 4th in the team standings. The team that's kind of the thorn in the side of that top 2 right now is Zuyost, sitting at 9-6, 3rd place. They've got a tough matchup as well against Jonathan Byer Racing, sitting at 6-9. They're trying to stay alive in the playoffs in their own right. Then you got TJ's team in Threat Level Midnight. Threat Level Midnight still eligible for making that championship matchup as well from the 5 seed. Very good shot as well, making that 3-4 matchup.
Yeah, nobody locked in, nobody safe. A couple teams locked out, but this is going to be an exciting night here tonight. And we've got 34 trucks out there as well. So a big night as well as far as racing is concerned. But looking at the payouts, it is all worth it. On the right side of your screen, you will see $500 first place for the season-long payout, $300 for second, $180 for third, and then it goes on down the list all the way through 8th place.
Yeah, all the way down to 8th. So if you make this round of 10, you know that you got, granted, unless we have ties, an 80% chance of making money at the end of the season. We got that 60 for 6th place, 40 for 7th, $20 for 8th, and of course everybody that makes that championship 5 race at Las Vegas, they'll be making at least $80 up to that $500 first place prize.
Definitely. Always fun to do that, and we couldn't do it without our sponsors, our fantastic sponsors that we have: Silverback Tax Solutions, Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detailing, Butt Kicker, TJ's team, and we still got to get Greg to help us out with that admin box.
Yeah, I still have his code on the back of my car for this season, so you can always use that one. But Admin Box, great resource for anybody that's doing a league admin or just wants a really good button box for their setup. So yeah, another one of our great partners.
Yep, going out there on the track, you will see those grids. It looks like Andrew Harris for PVR will take the pole. Lane Doyle for JW Racing, he really could have used those extra 2 bonus points.
Yeah, and he came up just 13 thousandths of a second short of that. Row number 2 will be Bo Tiffany and Austin Purnell. Purnell, another one of the drivers behind that cut line by just 5 points. And then in row number 3, a mixed bag, Sean Jensick, points leader. He's already locked in to the round of 10, but Ben Park will be starting on the outside in position number 6, 4 points out of that round of 10.
Yeah, then you got Michael Larch there, and Michael is one of those that we think that he's safe, but we'll see. Danny Dow for Rat Pack Racing also up in that top 10. Good to see him up there again.
Yeah, really solid qualifying effort there for him on a track that the style of this racetrack works well for him as well. Nathan De La Rosa trying to get things turned around after a rough stretch. He'll be starting in position number 9. Trevor Williams, he needs a 20th or better. Good start here, starting in position number 10. And in row number 6, Greg Olenek and Corey Stahl, 2 drivers not in the playoffs, but still well within reason to put up a pretty good run tonight.
Man, I am excited about this race because anytime you have a cutoff race, it gets crazy out there on the track. I mean, whether it's good racing or not, people are just racing for their lives. So who you got tonight?
This one might anger the person I'm picking. I know there's some people that are a little picky about the broadcast curse. I'm going with somebody behind the cut line, so hopefully this doesn't happen. But I really like Lane Doyle tonight in that 47 truck. He's starting up on the front row, really good on these 1.5 miles, especially these tri-oval ones. I just got a good feeling that he's going to be one of those guys that makes that jump and makes that push to get above that cut line tonight.
Well, you took my pick. Okay, all right. So I'm going to have to kind of switch things up a little bit because man, I can't believe you did that to me. Okay, so yeah, we don't
talk
plan
about
this.
it.
Oh, we don't talk about this, and so okay, so I'm going. Man, who do I take? Oh, okay, I am going to take somebody that is inside the cut and is solidly up there. All he has to do, I mean, actually, just by starting the race, he's basically in. I'm going to take Kyle Spees. He's starting off back here in 22nd position, but he is one of those drivers that it doesn't really matter where he starts because he always finishes well.
Yeah, one of the best long-run drivers out there. I like that pick. Not really. He's kind of like a Matt Kenseth. He can always start near the back, but near the end of the race, you'll see him up around that top 5, top 10. Always a solid pick.
All right, and you will see on the scoreboard over there on the left side, those that are in green are locked into the next round. Those that are in yellow, yeah, the numbers there are a little bit light, but those that are in yellow are inside the cut coming in, but could still fall outside the cut, and then the ones in orange are the ones that are in danger of missing out. But let's get this party started. Our very first Silverback Tax Solutions green flag of the night. We'll see if we can't get them sorted out on the track. See if maybe we can get some good green flag racing here tonight. Historically, it's not a bad track here.
No, not at all. Though we got trouble out there in turn number 3.
That's
one sideways and caution out. It's Michael Madden. Brad Herman involved as well.
That is Michael Madden. Yeah, Brad Herman. Brad Herman already locked in the playoffs. Michael Madden not locked in the playoffs yet. He's pretty close, but he definitely is going to want to get that truck back there on the track and get a few more laps in. But that looks really bad.
That's real heavy damage on that left side. I'm worried about the suspension as well. Not too sure if it's just body work or if it's the way that wheel's sitting. That makes me nervous about that left front. And we mentioned it before, 27th or better. Oh no, 27th or better needed coming in. You can make it 29th or better because nobody behind that cut line got that pole position and the 2 bonus points, but that is a heavy amount of damage to that 15 truck.
Oh, he is going to want to get that back out there, or at least hope that one of these guys below the cut line don't win the race. So let's go back and take a look at our very first wreck replay of the evening.
And this comes at the end of the track that you kind of have to get a little bit more single file. This is a lot like Texas. You got 2 different bankings on each side of the track. It's very asymmetrical. Turns 1 and 2, you get about 17, 18 degrees. Turns 3 and 4, it's only 14 degrees. So it's a lot tougher here, and he gets a little bit of a tap there from the 23. Looks like Nathan Nixon gets collected there. Blair Holloman might have got some damage, as did, that was Wally Babb, I believe, in the 99. Kind of hard to make out that number. But a few more trucks than we first thought got a little piece of this one, but nobody more than the 15 and the 85.
That's Mike Lepicki in the 23, and yeah, they just come together there. And he would have saved it. He would have saved it, but there's just too many trucks on the track.
Yeah, any other time on the racetrack, it probably works. But I think here it's so difficult on this first time because you got all these trucks out there. Everybody's tight. You're trying to get everything you can because it's going to be a little bit difficult to pass at this racetrack. We've seen that on these 1.5 miles in these trucks with the way that the momentum carries. You're trying to get everything you can get into this awkward bank turn there that's pretty flat for 1.5 miles. And just, yeah, they came in at 2 different angles and made that little bit of contact.
So we'll see what the admins call on that. But Michael Madden's still in the pits as we speak, trying to get any semblance of that truck fixed. And really, he's going to want to turn as many laps as possible and just hope that there's a little bit more carnage out there just so he can solidify his spot. Blair Holloman did come in and pit. He took about 27 seconds worth of damage repair, so he did get a piece of that as well. And Brad Herman with the big hit on Michael Madden. He's safe in the playoffs right now, but man, he hates being collected in lap 1 for sure.
Yeah, that's not the night that you want, but the good news for him is he is locked in, sitting second in the points right now. And also good news, once we get to this next round, all the points are reset for everybody that advances. They all get set to 3,000 points for that next round to put them well ahead of everybody else. And there's no effect on the playoff positioning. And so that's why you can see those three names in green. They don't have really anything to worry about but pride and maybe some weekly winnings here this week.
Yeah, you say it's a good thing that we go back to being completely even, all that stuff. I don't think the Jensik, Herman, and Greathouse are thinking that way.
No, I mean, hey, racers are racers. You get an opportunity to win a race or do well and keep that momentum going, especially with an off week next week. You want to do well. So it's, I mean, they're not going to be thinking that way, but if you're going to have a time for anything bad to happen, this is the week for it to happen if you're sitting in that top three with your name in green.
Well, we're going to keep an eye on Michael Madden and see if he can't get that truck back out on the track. I'm sure there's a lot of required damage repair there, but we will find out once he gets back on the track, and we will let you know. But Andrew Harris, who's led the entire way so far, all of 3 laps, he is going to bring us back to another Silverback Tax Solutions green flag. If you want the green, go to Silverback Tax Solutions.
A great jump there for Andrew Harris. He's actually going to pull Lane Doyle back into the second position. He lost that spot to Bo Tiffany coming out on that one lap, about 1 mile of racing that we had before the caution came out. And there they go again, fanning out wide. It looks like 3 wide, nearly 4 wide there at one point on that back straightaway, going into the shallower part here of this racetrack. A little bit lower banking, a lot tougher to get that handle on it, especially if you push it a little bit too far. But this time by, everybody looking clean.
Yeah, looking a little bit better this time, so we'll see if they can't keep it straight. But Andrew Harris has broken away already. Bo Tiffany in a nice little battle here side by side with Sean Jensik, our points leader, and he will get the spot taken away by Bo Tiffany there.
No, wow. That was a little bit farther away from that than that angle made it look. I thought we were going to see a nice little dive bomb there into the turn. A little bit closer there. Threw me off. I'm getting used to this camera angle tonight. But yeah, this is another interesting point of this racetrack, by the way, this front straightaway. We see a lot of tracks with the progressive banking. You don't see it too often on the front stretch. They have that here. It's 8 degrees on the low end, 10 degrees up high. Might come into play as this race plays out.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we love Kentucky so much is that progressive banking makes it so there's a few more angles you can play, a few different things you can do.
Trouble.
We got Kyle Spees up in the wall. And that will bring out another yellow flag.
Another driver above that playoff cut line with big trouble here. That one not nearly looking as bad. Maybe a little bit of damage there on that right side, but it's not nearly as bad as what we saw to Madden earlier.
We will see what happens here, but not starting off very good for our playoff drivers that are looking to solidify their spots, but
based on radio chatter, I think I know what happened here. And
Jose Castellanos,
Yeah, and that was the radio chatter that I was hearing, was Jose jumping on the radio immediately saying, that's my bad on that. I think he just got in a little bit too hot, maybe focused a little bit too much on the truck that's in front of him, because he was looking at Nathan Nixon there, maybe trying to make a move there, and just got a little deep into that turn. You could see him kind of riding it up, so I think that's going to be a pretty easy EOL call there, especially with the radio chatter included. But that's a little bit harder of a hit for Spees than it looked damage-wise at first. Hopefully that truck not too bad, but he slapped that wall pretty good.
Jeffrey Vickery got a little piece of that also. It doesn't look as bad as it probably should. Yeah, you can see the little crinkle on the back end, but that's about it. So we will see how long he stays in the pits as he comes in to take that service. A few other pitters right now. Rob Yost Jr. Going in there, so is Jose Ruiz, our cut line driver. So Jose is back there in 27th position right now, and so he's going to want to gain a few more spots. So maybe that's the strategy here. Get in there, get brand new tires, and see if maybe he can make a run at this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're 9 laps in. We've really had, 3 green flag laps, so there's not going to be a lot of wear on those tires. This might be more of a play in just trying to get a little bit off sequence and maybe catching a caution or something when pit stops do start, should we get to green flag pit stops. But, I mean, this is going to be a one-stop race based on fuel mileage. Now, for everybody that pitted, obviously 2 stops, but they can go past halfway on fuel. So this is going to be interesting with the way that this race has started, how the strategy is going to play out.
I'm just kind of doing some math here. So Michael Madden, going back to him, he's still in the pits. He is right now slotted in dead last in 34th place. But 34th place in our league will get you 7 points. 7 points puts him at 2,108 points. For either Ben Park or Rob Yost Jr. to catch him, they would have to win the race outright, and they would also have to probably lead the most laps at the same time to pass him. But to tie him, one of those two would have to win the race outright.
Yeah, I think there might be another couple scenarios there, maybe like a clean race and most laps led or something like that. But yeah, they're going to need a lot. So if you're Michael Madden, I think you just got to hang in there, try to pick up points. It looks like Brad Herman done for the night with the damage on his truck. So that's going to be something that if Madden can even just get out there for a couple laps, he'll pick up one spot. And you know, this has been an intense start. There's a lot on the line tonight at a track that's a little bit narrow groove on one end of it. It's possible we might see a few more wrecks and a few more trucks that have a bad night. So if you're Michael Madden, hope definitely not lost.
You know, I'm actually being corrected right now. So our winner gets 43 points, essentially. So 40 points for the win, 40 points for first place, 3 for the win, and then actually they get another point for leading a lap, so 44 points. And so that being said, if Ben Park, Rob Yost Jr., Lane Doyle, Austin Purnell, or Landon Cardulo win the race outright, then if Michael Madden doesn't get back out on the track, they will pass him on the scoreboard.
Yep. Yeah, so and that's the problem with everybody being so close. Now, the other thing you got to take into consideration is there's also 4 drivers between Madden and that cut line. That's assuming that they do everything that they need to do as well. So there is a little bit of a buffer there as well with those trucks that are in between.
Oh, definitely. And so the trucking question right now is Jose Ruiz right there on that cut line, only by 4 points ahead of Ben Park and Rob Yost Jr. So he's got some work to do to stay up in there, but he's got brand new tires now, and I really think tires here, if we can get just even a 15-lap run out of this, he's going to gain some spots.
Absolutely, and I could tell you, a different racetrack but similar feel last night. Got a little bit off strategy with the way that cautions fell. I was maybe 4 laps of green flag running on tires different, and they felt great until they didn't, and then you just fall like a rock and you're kind of stuck there the rest of the way. Now, if this thing does go green, those 3 laps may come in handy there, those 3 green flag laps, and just adding a little bit more life and picking up some more spots and getting a net gain.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do everything you possibly can when you're right there on the cut line. Now, we'll keep an eye on him because right now he is sitting in 26th spot. So let's keep an eye on him this run and see exactly what happens. But speaking of this run, we're going to get right back to it as we get another Silverback Tax Solutions green flag once they enter that Geico restart zone. Then Andrew Harris will get that start, and there it goes, green flag. Andrew Harris takes off once again. Lane Doyle on the outside, doing everything he can not to have a restart violation. So that always gives the big advantage to that leader.
Yeah, we even saw one of them last night pop up on the restart violation there, but another good jump here for the 87 of Andrew Harris. This time it's Bo Tiffany being second in line on the inside. He's going to get that pole into that second position. Not quite close enough to make a move yet, but Jensic and Larch side by side, and 3 wide now coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, that 36 of Austin Purnell, he needs a good race to get into the next round of the playoffs, so he is not going to hold back here at all.
No, I think everybody that's sitting there in red or yellow and that graphic on that pylon, they're going to have the elbows all the way up here tonight for all 95 laps around Kentucky.
jumping back just a little way, let's take a look at Landon Cardillo. I think out of those that are in the orange, I really think that he is probably the strongest of those drivers as far as he can pop off a win anytime. And so keep an eye on him as he is up a couple spots to 15th, and he's trying to get 14th now.
Yeah, historically on the mile and a half, the best driver out of those that are behind that cut line, and he's making his way through very nicely at this point. I mean, started in 17th, he's now up to the 14th position. Just kind of, and there's not many green flag laps, not many passing opportunities thus far, but he's just doing a good job keeping that truck clean right now. Yeah,
this is definitely one of those tracks where you've got to save those tires as much as possible, because you're going to need that push to pass people later on in the run, because as they spread out, it does become more and more difficult to pass.
Oh, for sure, and I like how he goes about it. And looking now at the 94 Lucas Lyons, and this is a weird one. You could say he's last in the point standings, which he is, but he's still only 8 points behind that cut line coming into this race. So, I mean, in any other division, 8 points out, that puts you about 2 or 3 spots behind that cut line at most. Here, he's all the way in the back, but he's still well within reason to make it.
Yeah, and up in the top 10 right now. Depending on the spot of the track that he's on. So he still has a shot at this thing. And so if he grabs a top 10, and again, we've already seen some people struggling. We see Jose Castellanos a couple laps down, and Jose is only, 9 points above the cut line as we speak. So just that alone, it looks like Lucas Lyons would give him a run for his money.
Yeah, right now it's Castellanos and Ruiz are the heavily in the danger zone right now of falling out of that top 10, and they were 9th and 10th coming in. But then you've got 5 out of the 6 drivers that are behind the cut line all sitting inside the top 14 trucks right now. So this thing's still wide open when it comes to those playoff 10 that are going to be advancing.
And look who is getting back out on the track, Michael Madden. Here's something interesting. Brad Herman has left the race. So he left the race just before completing lap 5. So even if Michael Madden can get 4.5 more laps in, then he's going to gain an all-important point in this race, which could keep him in this playoff race.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how far he drags this out. Maybe he can run as far as possible, get the rest of the way, and just try to pick up as many points as possible. It's not what you want to do, but it's what you got to do, and it's that mindset thing of, all right, if I know every point I can pick up here is going to make a huge difference, you got to stay out there as long as possible. He's only 3 laps behind Herman. He's 14 behind Castellanos, but there's still 75 laps of wrecking that can happen the rest of the way.
Well, we hope it doesn't. So we don't want to see the wrecks, obviously. So heading back to Jose Ruiz, who, again, brand new tires after the 8th lap. And so he has not gained any positions at all since our restart. So he's being held off right now by the 16 of Derek Da Silva. But if he can get in front of Derek Da Silva, he's got a little bit of blue sky up there that he can maybe get this thing running.
Yeah, that was going to be the question that I had on it, was you're going to have cold tires against tires that are broken in a little bit, and then you might pick up near maybe about 10-15 laps into green flag laps into the run. Maybe there's going to be a little fall off and a little bit of an extended window for Ruiz and everybody else that came in, but it's a small window. You look at 9 laps, but it was really only 3 under green, so not a lot of wear on those tires. It was a gamble, and it's worth trying stuff where he was running at that point, but I'm just not sure how much benefit there really would have been.
Jumping back up front, we got a nice little race brewing here. So Trevor Williams and Danny Dow side by side for 6th position.
And one thing I just want to point out, when we got this side by side, look at the left pylon. Michael Madden has passed Brad Herman now after completing a couple laps, so that gives him 1 extra point. That might be the difference that he needs.
Yeah, he desperately needed that. I mean, we think he would have gotten in anyway, but again, you just never know. So definitely get every single point you possibly can, and hopefully his truck is running well enough that it can turn a few more laps, and if there is any more carnage, he'll gain a couple more points along the way. But taking a look at this Trevor Williams and Danny Dow matchup here. So Danny Dow just got a new PC, loving that. So just had one specially built for him. So definitely an upgrade, and so he's using that to his advantage here tonight.
That new car feeling over there with the new computer there for Danny, and putting together a really strong run tonight, sitting in the 6th spot. And this is, I said it earlier, this is the kind of racetrack that he puts on some good runs quite often, as long as he keeps that truck out of trouble. Seems to be snake bit at times, but he really is good at these 1.5 miles, these kind of intermediate cookie cutter style tracks. That just fits him really well.
Yeah, Danny Dow, I don't think he's had a win since Mid-South Madness Season 2. So, I mean, this is literally the 5th season since then. And so I think he would really use a win just for his confidence more than anything else, especially as much as the strength of the field has grown over the last few seasons.
Oh, for sure, and just to even get the momentum going for next time around. And the other thing too is we still do have that Tier 2 playoff or Tier 2 championship that's going on for everybody that did not make the championship playoffs, and everybody that's eliminated in this first round. They're eligible for that, so still plenty to race for everybody.
Yeah, definitely, and we will have those standings out later this week for those drivers that are still in that second tier playoff. So the rules of that, basically you get to, you're running in 7 races and you get to drop 1. So even if you don't show up 1 week, you still are okay. And those drivers that do get eliminated in the first round of the actual playoffs are eligible for that playoff, that second tier playoff. So that way everybody has something to race for in the last, whatever, 4 weeks.
Well, after last night, I'm grateful that I'm eligible for the Tier 2, that I still have something to go for, aside from the team side of things. But, yeah, just a great addition to things over the past couple seasons. Just keeps that competition level up, and it's part of why we still see 33 trucks out here tonight, even with the playoffs going on and a lot of drivers already eliminated from championship contention.
Oh, I just read the fine print of the Tier 2 playoffs, and it says broadcasters not eligible. I don't know what that means.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Brandon Domain is eligible in the Cup Series. Don't worry.
Hey! Meanwhile, speaking of eligible, how about an eligible run for 3rd place possibly developing? As I was watching Lane Doyle took a little peek to the inside there of Sean Jensick, not able to get that move completed, maybe backed it off just a little bit more than he wanted as that gap opened up a little bit. That actually pulled him back to Austin Purnell as they're still running 4th and 5th. 2 drivers not far behind that cut line, both 5 points back.
Lane Doyle, one of my favorite trucks out there, and being an accountant myself, I will tell you, it is tax season, and if you don't have an enrolled agent doing your taxes, do that. So not trying to advertise necessarily for this company, although, hey, there's the phone number there if you need it, but definitely get an enrolled agent to do your taxes. You will not regret it. Enrolled agents are the tax experts that are admitted to practice before the IRS by the IRS, so they know the rules. Call an enrolled agent to do your taxes. Also brought to you by Silverback Tax Solutions.
Well, as excited as you are about tax season, I think Lane Doyle might be as excited about making that pass finally for 3rd place as he goes on the high side, getting around Sean Jensick, and now battle for the race lead side by side, Bo Tiffany to the inside of Andrew Harris.
Yeah, a couple drivers that have had wins in Speed Racing Network before, so they know how to do it. They've raced each other for quite a while. So we will see if they can keep it clean side by side and see how long it takes for Lane Doyle to stick his nose in there.
And this is going to be the best friend right now for Lane Doyle because he's got his teammate there to the inside holding up this race. And that pulled Doyle right to that tailgate of both the 87 and the 49. So this one, as long as they stay side by side, that's going to leave that window open, pull Doyle even closer. And if Tiffany can make this pass on the inside, it should open that door wide open for Doyle to follow.
Doyle thought about it there. He really thought about it there, but I think he's going to hold back a little bit because with him being so close in the playoffs, he's only 5 points behind the cut line. A 3rd place finish here should do it for him. And so, yeah, don't take any risk you don't have to.
No, that's going to be the big debate. And last week I remember kind of saying, the devil and the angel on the shoulder, and you got to hear the opinions of both of them on this case. And if you're Lane Doyle, you're sitting there saying, all right, I can go out there and win and really make it a great chance. And that was a big-time power move into turn one. He's going to clear Harris easily and get that little bit of a slider up there to chop that run off. So position number 2 for Doyle. And this is going to be one of those things where he's got to decide, all right, what's worth risking it? Do I go for the win and really elevate my chances, or do I know what's going on in the field around me and know that third place probably good enough that the way that this field's running? It's a tough battle, but then you also got to think, racers are racers. They're going to go for the win 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins the race, and he's likely in anyway, especially with Jose Castellanos being back here in 32nd place, 2 laps down right now. And so that is the most beautiful thing that Lane Doyle could hope for. But if he wins this race, yeah, he'll be in.
And also keep in mind, we do still have Jose Ruiz. That strategy not quite panning out the way he was planning. He's still sitting in the 23rd position, so 9th and 10th in the point standings, well behind the drivers that are racing their way, trying to get up into that top 10. The only one that's fallen back behind either Ruiz or Castellanos is Rob Yost, sitting in the 28th position. Everybody else trying to make their move from outside to in above that cut line. They are all running inside the top 14.
Yeah, one of those, Trevor Williams, in 5th position now. And so he is up 5 spots from where he starting off in 10th. So now he is up into that top 5. That will be enough to get him in if he can hold it and maintain it. And so far, I mean, it's kind of going the way we thought it would, with the exception of Brad Herman and Michael Madden.
One on the wall.
Oh,
not quite sure who that was. Had a pretty awkward angle there trying to see which truck. But we had one just kind of sliding around that back straightaway wall. I think it was, that's actually what I was just about to say. I think it was Greg Olenek, and he's going to be the first one down pit road. He rode that wall quite a way down that back straightaway.
I mean, it doesn't look like he's got any damage there on the right side, so maybe he's just coming in to short pit this thing.
Yeah, I mean, they could stretch it the rest of the way. It's a reach from here, so not too sure what's going on there. This is right at the very earliest part. I would think that maybe they can make it. So it's an interesting strategy there.
I mean, he just took a regular pit stop, so only 15 seconds and back out there on the track. So, yeah, I don't see any damage there on that truck. So, I think he's just playing the strategy game, and he's got nothing to lose. He was not able to make it into the playoffs, even though he had a stellar run after missing the first 6 races. He was able to work his way up to where he almost made the playoff field.
Andrew Harris coming in, another PVR truck.
And he was the leader for quite a while there. And Ben Park as well, coming down. And one of the drivers that is right there on the cut line, 4 points back of the cut line. So now we're starting to see that strategy play out just a little bit. Bo Tiffany maintains that lead, but Lane Doyle all over him right now.
Now, I'll tell you what might be happening. And this is going to sound a little bit like Auto Club in real life last week. At the fuel mileage, you can stretch this thing to a one-stop race. The tires, maybe you don't necessarily want to, because we've seen 2 seconds of fall off already, and we're not even to halfway through this race, as now we got Williams and Greathouse coming in this time by. So maybe we're thinking the fuel, but everybody else thinking about these tires on these trucks really blowing up here as we approach lap number 40.
Yeah, Bo Tiffany still leading this thing. And you can see Danny Dow has moved up into the 3rd position. And then Sean Jensick right behind him in 4th. Austin Purnell desperately needing a good race up there in the top 5. So it might be enough, might not. We'll have to see how the points shake out at the end of this thing. But a few more coming down. Sean Kosher, Dean Gagliano, and Kevin Asanio are all coming in as well. So, yeah, definitely in the midst of these pit stops. Now, here's the question. Jose Ruiz, who, again, pitted on lap 8, so he's got 8 more laps on these tires and this fuel. Does he stick it out there? Does he?
I mean,
who knows? There could be a caution coming.
Yeah, well, Bo Tiffany now down on the pit road. So the race leader coming down. He's got company with him as well. As it's Lucas Lyons down pit road also, so one of our drivers trying to move up above that cut line. And going back to Jose Ruiz, I think at this point you just try to stretch it out, maybe get to the point where there's enough of an awkward number of trucks on old tires and new tires, maybe a caution comes out, and you get on the good side of things. It's now Lane Doyle coming down pit road, and looks like he's going to be solo this time by.
So that hands the lead over to Danny Dow, our Mid-South Madness Season 1 champion. And so, he is not, no offense, Danny, but he has not seen the front of the pack for a long, long time. And here he is leading the way.
And that's just a good feeling. It sounds like he's going to be coming down this time by as he's on the radio. And it sounds like there's a lot of trucks getting ready to come down this time by. That driver chat just lit up like a Christmas tree. We got Dow, Jensic, Stahl, Larch all coming down. There's more behind them.
Nathan Nixon, Mike Lepicki all coming down. Blair Holloman coming down. Lane Doyle is leaving the pit, but Travis Burton, man, I love that paint scheme. Absolutely love it. He is coming down as well.
As an LSU fan, I will never complain about that truck.
It's just a beautiful truck.
As we got Austin Purnell now out in front, and it's a JBR 1-2-3. See if maybe they play a little strategy. No, they're actually going to all come down at the same time. Thought maybe Purnell would come down this time. Oh, the 66 De La Rosa. Great save on the entry as he locked it up to try to get to the speed limit.
Good job not running into his teammate Landon Cardulo there.
Yeah, that would not have gone well on that team chat for sure. And I'm a little surprised. I thought Purnell, he led the last time by. I thought he would come down and maybe bring De La Rosa with him. And I thought maybe they would cycle it to Landon Cardulo to pick up a bonus point. That not in the plan. So that tells me they're really nervous about the life on these tires.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rare miss on strategy from JBR. They do not miss very often. Jose Ruiz decided, you know what, enough's enough. Let's go ahead and come on in. So he's going to come in and get tires along with Doc Holliday and Kyle Spees.
So that's going to leave 4 trucks out there still running on the original set. Connor Cunningham, Jason Kratke, Rob Yost, and Jeffrey Vickery. Going to be the last 4 still out there. Looks like Cunningham. Nope, he's just getting past there. The speed difference, you could see it right there on display. That threw me off. I thought maybe he was getting ready to blow up and come down pit road, but it's just the grip on these new tires and how much speed they've got in them just really on display here as they work their way around. That's Michael Madden still out there just trying to hope maybe get a couple extra points.
Yeah, and Rob Yost, the last of the playoff hopefuls that is still out there on the track without pitting. And if I'm him, I'm staying out there as long as I possibly can and begging for a caution.
Yeah, you've got to do the complete opposite of what everybody else is doing at this point. He's in a position where he's not going to pick up the spots on the racetrack with the way that the position that he was running before that pit stop happened. So he's got to go with a complete script flip at this point. Problem is, all these trucks going back by, caution comes out. There's still now 13 trucks on the lead lap. There's a lot of trucks that are going to get that wave around. So at best right now, you're looking at about 15th place probably. The longer he stays out, the farther back it is. So it's still better, but it's starting to dissipate. Yeah, it's starting to dissipate at this point, though. So that window is shrinking is where I'm getting.
Jason Kratke, another one of the leaders, coming down into the pits. Connor Cunningham, along with Rob Yost, those are the last 2 that have not pitted yet. They pitted on lap 8, so they may be able to make it another 6 laps or so, maybe 5, and we'll see when they decide to jump in there. But Connor just does not get enough play in this league as far as enough screen time. Just because, sometimes he's mid-pack. And so it's really good to see him up front at number 17. Rob Yost coming down into pit road.
Oh, there we go. So we were talking about that shrinking window, and that window now closed on Rob Yost as he comes down pit road. Sounds like Cunningham going to be following this time by, and you can see him holding that inside line. So not just on the driver chat, but also visually on the racetrack, indicating he's coming this time. And that'll cycle the lead back out to Andrew Harris in the 87 truck with Greg Olenek, the first one to come down pit road. He's going to be in position number 2, trying to hold off Ben Park.
Yeah, I mean, good luck with that. I love Greg, great broadcaster, good friend, and everything. But even with 2-lap older tires, I just don't think that he's going to be able to hold off Ben Park all that long.
No, and it's getting to that point where the tires are going to start to really show wear. So, you once you get to about 12 to 15 laps, you really start to feel the effects of it. You can still feel like a superhero the first 10 or so, but then it starts to transition. We're well within that transition point where the fall off is going to start hitting a little bit quicker every lap from beyond that. That you come in a little bit later is just going to extend that speed that you have at this point.
So, of all the net gains there, I really think out of this top 5 group, I think Trevor Williams really got a good move on that. He was already in 4th or 5th anyway, but just coming back out here in 4th or 5th and still maintaining that speed, and now he is hunting down these 2 in front of him. I have a feeling that he's going to be up on the podium here shortly.
And I tell you what, you point him out. I've got another one in mind, looking at 5th place, Lucas Lyons with a big jump. And he actually came in a little bit later than a lot of these leaders. He's only got 11 laps on these tires right now, which is only 1 more than Lane Doyle, 2 more than Danny Dow. So I really like that position the 94 is in right now, picking up a few spots and still keeping relatively fresher tires than the leaders.
Going back to this battle here, and Trevor Williams did make the pass on both Ben Park and Greg Olenek. So Trevor Williams to 2nd place.
And they're all just creeping in a little bit on Andrew Harris, who's sitting there on 15-lap old tires now. And this race kind of spreading out a little bit. This kind of opens up the idea about, all right, when's the next pit stop going to happen? So we started seeing them on around lap 35. You start thinking maybe around lap 70 we'll start to see another window. That's approaching pretty quickly now at this rate. So this thing that stays green, we got a lot of strategy that can come into play here as well.
Yeah, going back a little late, Sean Jensen was up in the top 5. Now he's down in 14th position. So not sure what's going on there. And maybe it's just he pitted later than others, and he's just trying to get caught back up to everybody. But a little disconcert. Oh, a little bit of touching there.
Yeah, and looking at his pit stop, it was a perfectly normal pit stop, 14.2, 11-lap old tires, so a little bit on the back end of those pit stops. He came in at the same time as Austin Purnell and Danny Dow. And also Michael Larch, who he's been racing with. So a little interesting that he dropped a few spots, maybe just a little bit conservative. I think he got a little checked up on the entry into pit road, so that might be a little bit of a factor. But, yeah, he's got some speed advantage right now with the slightly fresher tires.
And really interesting to note that he was the fastest down pit lane as a whole out of the entire group. Nobody got down pit lane faster than he did, so a little interesting that he's taken that big of a loss, but he's starting to gain it back a little bit, up in 12th now, so gained 2 spots since we started talking about it.
Well, is that a little damage on the right front, or is that just a body line on that 29 truck? It's raised up a little bit there. That might explain something there, too, yeah. So that might be part of the issue here.
That's not a little damage. That's a lot of damage.
And this track, I mean, we talk about how it gets very narrow in the racing groove, and especially in turns 3 and 4. It's got some aero sensitivity on this racetrack, so any little damage there can affect the handling on this truck. It's not going to be like a Daytona or a Talladega or anything like that, but it's going to have an effect on how that truck handles.
Heading back up front, Andrew Harris is about to have a visitor. Trevor Williams continues his march to the front.
And this is, just about a lap fresher on the tires here compared to Andrew Harris, and you can just see how that lifespan just lives there, and maybe part of it too, Harris maybe just burning up the tires a little bit more early on, trying to work his way through the traffic that was still out on the older tires after that pit stop. So not a big difference here, but a big entire life, but a big difference in speed is that 46 right onto the back bumper of that 87.
Trevor's just trying to find the spot to take this. He does have one lap newer tires. You would think that at some point it's gonna happen. So just kind of waiting for that moment. Trevor's just waiting to pick his spot.
And these two, there's no intent or anything. They've had a couple run-ins, just racing incidents over the course of the season. Wonder if maybe there's a little bit of that thought, because they're giving each other a lot of room right now, being very respectful, racing for the lead as we're closing in within 40 laps of the finish, and you don't often see this much space given here between two guys going for the lead.
No, and Harris not in the playoffs at all or anything like that, but also he doesn't want to ruin somebody else's playoffs, and so
absolutely.
Nobody wants to ruin somebody else's playoffs. It's just not fun to do. So I think he's being respectful and giving a lot of room there. But also at the same time, I think Trevor Williams understands and knows he does not need a win here. There's no reason to risk this thing. Second place is good enough.
Yeah, and with how this race has played out, he needs a 22nd place finish, and that increases as if he picks up the lead here and gets a lap led. That makes it a 23rd is all he would need. So definitely one of those risk-reward moments, and the win would be nice, of course. That's a lot of momentum. Pick up your second win of the season, getting into the next round, going into the build week break next week with all that momentum. But it's a whole lot better to be in the playoffs and continuing on than making a move for a race win and maybe not having that happen after the break.
Yeah, well, his teammate from last season, Ryan Johnson, he understands that lesson all too well. Ryan Johnson went for the win the week before the cutoff for the championship race, went for the win, got into a wreck, and was not able to make the championship race because of it. And he ended up racing really, really well in that championship race where he would have won the championship had he made it. So lost out on $500 because he wanted the win more than he wanted the championship.
I wasn't the one that wrecked him, but sorry, Ryan, that if you're listening and had to hear that one again.
Yeah,
but
I know. It's like PTSD for him, man. I mean, it's bad. So apologies, Ryan, but just making a point, man. Just making a point.
Yeah. It's a fair thought, and this side-by-side, I tell you what, this high line, and in the trucks, it's a little bit more alive than it would be in the Xfinity cars or the Cup cars, just because of the grip that they have. But that high line, especially in 1 and 2, really doing a great job of holding off any chance to pass on the inside line, even with Harris giving an extra maybe half groove, full groove up on the racetrack, just really doing a good job defensively, running that high line. A little bit of an apron clip there for Trevor Williams in the 46. That backs him off maybe about 0.05 of a second or so, not much, but it's going to open up that gap to about a truck length.
Man, if we thought that we were going to have an easy night with scoring and all that, look at your pylon over there. You got 4 drivers outside the cut that are all in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So I hate to tell the viewers this, and I really hate to tell the drivers this, but the guy that posts all the scores, he's not going to be here tonight until later. So we may not have an answer for these drivers until late tonight.
And honestly, probably good that we're going to have a little bit of extra time to figure this out with the way that this pylon's looking right now. And we got one up in the wall. It's Derek Silva just trying to stay out of the way. He just kind of left it a little bit too far to the right there. But, you're looking at 4 drivers all behind the cut line coming into tonight, all within 8 points of that playoff spot, continuing on, all sitting 3rd through 6th. Landon Cardulo, 6 points out, running in 13th. And then you've got all the guys that are in trouble right now. You've got Aspies, Holloman, Ruiz, Castellanos, Madden, all sitting outside the top 20. This thing is still wide open.
Oh, yeah. This is not over by a long shot, and they're racing like that, too. I mean, they're racing like everything depends on every single spot out there. I mean, especially look back here at Lions and Doyle and Purnell, I mean, they're swapping spots left and right.
Man, this has just been great racing all over the racetrack. It's been hard to look away from that battle for the lead, but we've got side-by-side racing all over the place right now, including this one. Doyle and Lyons running for 4th and 5th. Don't count out Purnell right there in 6th. Then it's 2 by 2 by 2 behind them racing for position as well.
Insane. Matthew Greathouse, one of our drivers that is locked in. We haven't really talked too much about him because he's locked in as we playoffs, but he is finally up into the top 10. Started off in 20th position tonight.
And that's a shame we haven't talked about him, because that's one of my favorite paint schemes out there. That's a heck of a truck with a paint splatter look out there on that 51, and he can show it off tonight without a lot of pressure, as he did lock himself in last week at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, the big movers so far tonight, Sean Kozier and Jason Kratke, sitting back here in 19th and 20th. So they have both gained 13 positions.
Pit stops.
Oh, here we go.
Ben Park, Lucas Lyons, Kevin Asanio, Matt Greathouse all coming down. So we thought around lap 70, they're going to try to come in a couple laps earlier. This might hurt on the back end of the speed, but they're going to get a big push right now and maybe bring in the rest of the field panicking on this decision.
Undercut, and it's going to force the hands of some of these drivers in orange. It's going to force them to do something, and here comes Andrew Harris, not a driver in orange, but wants to protect that lead as much as possible, so making a decision to come in a little bit earlier. Michael Larch coming in as well as Derek De Silva.
And what that decision by Andrew Harris did, though, is that's going to add a bonus point for Trevor Williams, who leads that last lap. That is huge for the 46. That now just gives him a little bit more of that buffer that he needs should anything go wrong the rest of this race.
Yeah, and really, he'll take that bonus point and come in, and he will try to protect against that undercut as well. And he's going to be followed by Lane Doyle and Danny Dow.
And with Doyle coming in, that's going to give Purnell the lap lead this time by. So Austin Purnell going to pick up a bonus point. He was only 5 points out coming into this race. Now that's as good as being 4 points out.
This math is going to be awful. And I'm an accountant, and I'm saying that.
Yeah, you got an accountant and a finance grad up here in the booth right now, and we're just sitting here just throwing pens trying to figure out the numbers, and we might just be giving up at this point.
So Austin Purnell leads this race, gets those bonus points, and again, this is another one of those spots where Austin Purnell and Nathan De La Rosa could pit right now and give Landon Cardulo that extra bonus point. I don't know if they're thinking that way.
You know what? You kind of sit there and say teammates got to help teammates, but how far does that go at this point? And whoa! Speaking of teammates, De La Rosa and Cardulo nearly getting into trouble with each other as they were working their way around Michael Madden's damaged truck and that back straightaway. That was nearly teammates taking each other out.
Well, and you got to look at Austin Purnell and Landon Cardulo. They are teammates, but they're also only separated by 1 point behind the cut line. Sorry, all bets are off.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that first round of pit stops, maybe you think about it a little bit more, but this is the money stop last time around here, and if I'm Austin Purnell, I see how close Landon is and what's possible here. You know what? You're on your own, buddy, at this point. Even if I'm in this position and it's my teammate, yeah, you're on your own. I'm going to lead this thing as far as I possibly can.
I love you, buddy, but I'm making the playoffs. And here's the thing, we don't even know if he's making the playoffs. We're right there. So, I mean, all this could be for naught, but if you're Austin Purnell, you have to leave it all on the table.
Now, I'm starting to wonder, though, when is the turning point on this? As we got Jose Ruiz coming down pit road now from the 7th position. We're down to just 7 trucks that are still, 8 trucks, counting Jeffrey Vickery, that are still waiting to make that pit stop. Here comes Purnell. Here comes De La Rosa. Is that Cardulo behind him? It is Cardulo behind him. Corey Stahl also, so 4 trucks coming down. Sean Jensick stays out, but that number is dwindling quickly.
I have a very interesting question for you. I think I know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The number 83, pitted on lap 48.
Can he make it?
You think?
Yeah, can make it. It's going to be a gain. It's not going to be a win with the pace difference, that's for sure. You're giving up about 2 seconds a lap right now. That's a really dicey moment
cluster.
going on right there around him. But, I mean, you're going to be giving up about 2 seconds a lap. Andrew Harris is already in 5th. He's 13 seconds back. So it's not going to be good for a race win. It could be good for a position gain from where he's been running, though. Is it worth a shot? Absolutely. Is it going to be successful? I don't think so. But it might be the better of the two options of just running with the pack.
Yeah, there is a 2-second difference, 21 laps to go, but man, if he can hold up this traffic at all, I mean, and pull off some sort of a top 10, that's going to do nothing but help. Oh, big moment.
Whoa.
And
in trouble. Casadio around.
And I don't see a caution.
No, I think Casadio actually saved it pretty well. You can see him there. I think he cycled.
We're watching it again. It's happening.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure if Yost called out that he was going to the pits or what, but what a save by Alsanio. What a save.
A, that's an incredible save. B, I do see the pitting in note in the text chat. Now, sometimes that's a little bit harder to see. You typically like the verbal one, but that's still there. Yeah, that's a dicey moment, and I don't know when that came up, if it was late or not. So you never know. That's a hairy moment. Thankfully, it works out in the end, but that's going to cost Assanio a few seconds, that's for sure.
Yeah, and a few heartbeats as well. But Sean Jensic will resume his lead, but he has not pitted yet. So the top three have not pitted: Sean Jensic, Travis Burton, and Jeffrey Vickery. I know there are some fans of that Travis Burton truck out there right now and would love to see a caution, because that would do nothing but help his prospects.
And I tell you what, that I think is what the thought might have been, is just stretch it out long enough, maybe get a caution after everybody's been out here for about 12, 15 laps or so. And if you're still running in the third position, everybody probably would pit at that point, just because of the life of the tires, or at least enough wood that you gain some spots in the process. So I think that's more the route than trying to stretch it to the end. And if you're Sean Jensic, Travis Burton, you got nothing to worry about here at this point. Your fates are already sealed when it comes to the next round. If you're Jensic, you're advanced. If you're Burton or Vickery, you're not in the playoffs, and you got no harm, no foul at this point, so you can take that chance.
Well, Andrew Harris has tracked down Jeffrey Vickery. So has Ben Park. So Andrew Harris back up into third. And so the instant that Sean Jensic and Travis Burton dive into the pits, Andrew Harris will resume his lead, but not by too much, because Ben Park is only 3/10 behind him.
And Park came in about a lap previous to Harris. So it's going to be Andrew Harris and Lane Doyle, Danny Dow. They're going to have the freshest tires among the race leaders once we cycle through. So there's going to be some names to keep an eye on. We saw the effect of just 1 lap difference on these tires. So that might kind of give you an idea about what we're going to be looking at should this green flag run continue to the end of this thing and Jensic and Burton give up their spots.
Well, if you're looking at laps when they pitted, by the way, Sean Jensic and Travis Burton both pitting right now, look at Trevor Williams. He pitted 1 lap behind Andrew Harris and 2 laps behind Ben Park. So he does have the freshest tires in this top 10.
And I tell you what, you give him that, he's been level, if not a little bit quicker than Andrew Harris for much of this race. I think those have been the 2 trucks to beat here tonight, with the way that they've been running all night long, with the strategy, but also with the pace on these trucks. I think those are going to be the 2 to keep an eye on. But Ben Park sitting there, that's a desperate man right now, 4 points behind that cut line coming in. Would not count him out one bit.
And you can see Williams is 1 to 3/10 better the last 4 laps. If he keeps that up within the next 4 laps, he will be up on the leader's bumper.
And how much of a difference was staying out and getting that undercut about 15 laps against you? There's Sean Jensic right now, side by side with the race leader. That's a full lap down after everything. Trying to stay on that lead lap. Fresher tires should be good. It's still a little bit difficult to make that pass on those cold tires.
Yeah, a very uncharacteristic race for Sean Jensic, but again, he didn't need to do anything with this. He's not going to gain anything by having more bonus points or anything like that, because we start level next round. So there's no reason for him to really to really take this as a gut shot.
And I'll throw out another thing, too, and it's not quite exactly the same track as side-by-side now as Trevor Williams sticks the nose underneath the 8 of Ben Park, that for second place, and not an exact same track, but a similar track. Where's the championship race this season? Las Vegas, mile-and-a-half tri-oval. Is this not a perfect opportunity to do some homework if you're already clinched into this next round and maybe just kind of brush up on some knowledge for that race should you get there?
Oh, you bet. Now, I will point out that Sean Jensick had trouble on pit road because his pit time, remember how last stop it was the best on the track? This stop, the worst on the track by 7 seconds.
Maybe getting that damage repair, that might have been on there too.
No, that was actually, it was getting in and getting out of the pits. So something happened there. So not sure what it was, but the pit time itself was perfect. The pit lane time was 7 seconds slower than anyone else on the track.
Well, that is interesting. That's for sure. Yeah, that's an odd combination. But you see Rob Yost making his way around Trevor Williams. That is to try to work on getting his lap back after being one of the last drivers on pit road. He's trying to close in on Andrew Harris to naturally get that lap back. But there you see the gap there from Harris to Williams to Park. 10 laps to go, and Williams had to really use up some tires trying to make that pass on Park. I'm curious how much he used, if there's still anything left in the tank there to try to make this move on Andrew Harris.
Yeah, I was wondering if he had enough power to stick with Rob Yost for just a little while and maybe walk through that open door that Rob Yost was just given by Andrew Harris. But it doesn't look like Trevor Williams is going to be able to capitalize just yet.
And I tell you what, I was wondering, if normally at these mile-and-a-half tracks, you kind of think like, all right, if you got fresh tires and you're a lap down, go by me on the outside. But the way that Harris has made this outside line work, maybe that's what he wanted, was Yost to go to the inside, just because of the way that he's been able to maintain some speed there. That probably wasn't as quick of a pass as Harris was hoping with that tire difference, because that did reel in Williams just that little bit, maybe a couple tenths there. And you can see that gap closing in quickly as Williams is getting closer and closer to that bit of toe from the draft here.
Just inching his way up as Michael Madden's still on the track, hoping that something happens out there. But at this point, with only 8 laps to go, Michael Madden is going to basically finish where he finishes, where he's at right now. So he will get 8 points for where he's at, which will put him at 21:09, which, again, Ben Park, Rob Yost, Lane Doyle, Austin Purnell, any of those would have to win the race to get that many points. And so I'm pretty sure Michael Madden just punched his ticket.
Oh, here we go. Trevor Williams, he got the run going down that front straightaway, makes that little cut to the inside, gets to the side of the 87 of Harris. See if that outside line can continue to hold. It does so far, but they're still going to be in a drag race down the back straightaway. I like this high line with how Harris has made it work, but I think there's a little bit more life in these tires in the 46 right now. He's going to drive him up the racetrack, though, try to squeeze him out of that line.
Oh, Harris into the wall. Great job by Harris to keep it off of the Williams truck there. That would have been very easy to come down the track and wreck both of them.
Yeah, that could have definitely happened, and a good job keeping the momentum there. And man, these two have just been magnets for each other the second half of the season. Always seems like they're near each other and always in some touchy moments there. And that one, I would say that Williams just kind of drove it in deep, but here this time he's trying to really get everything he can out of this truck and really being aggressive on the line and the pace. And I think that just kind of shoved Harris out of the groove just that little bit, and they both washed up the racetrack.
All right, I'm going to ask you this, and I don't know if you know the answer. Has Ben Park led a lap?
I do not believe so, because he's always been one of the first pitters.
I'm trying to do very, very quick math here. So if that is the case, with Austin Purnell leading a lap a little bit earlier, and they were both sitting at 2067 at that point, so that Ben Park Austin Purnell race, that might be for put Lane Doyle in there as well. Sorry about that. Put Lane Doyle in there as well. That race between 3rd, 4th, and 5th might be for that last playoff spot.
It very well could, and keep in mind, we still got Jose Castellanos sitting in 32nd place. At this rate, I hate to say it to a team truck, I think he's out right now. Jose Ruiz sitting in 17th. He would be out as well right now. So you got 2 spots available for 5 guys running 3rd through 7th, and 3 laps to go. Still everything on the line. And hey, by the way, this thing has been green for a while. You're not going to rule out a possibility of a shootout either if a caution were to come out. This thing's still wide open.
And Trevor Williams leading the way, and he has broken away from Andrew Harris. And so for all intents and purposes, Trevor Williams will make it into the next round of the playoffs as long as he just keeps that truck going straight. But really that interesting battle is 3rd, 4th, and 5th there. 2 spots on the line and 3 drivers.
And I'll tell you what, it might be more than 2 drivers advancing with how tight this is. Might very well be seeing a tie in the process, but we got to get to that white flag first to know that we're not going to have that green-white checker shootout. That's 2 turns away for Trevor Williams. Looks like we might get there, but still a little bit of ways to go.
And I'm actually, as we speak, I am texting the guy that does the scoring, like, please get home as quickly as possible.
Well, either way, Trevor Williams, he needed a 20th place finish to clinch. What better way to do that than to just go out and win the dang thing tonight? He's had a tremendous drive. Not going to get the most laps led, but he's been a contender all night long. Great drive from Trevor Williams en route to his 2nd win of the season.
And Trevor Williams will bring it home. The Bluegrass 135 belongs to Trevor Williams.
And while we have no clue on anybody else that's going to advance, we do know Trevor Williams is going to be racing for the continued championship opportunity when we get to that round of 10 in 2 weeks' time. But man alive, we've got chaos everywhere behind there, and this one might be a little bit of a deciding factor as well. Danny Dow made his way around Lucas Lyons at the very end for 7th. That'll put Lyons down to 8th. He was the farthest back, but not by much. So that might knock out Lucas Lyons, but Park, Doyle, Purnell, and Cardulo, they're all going to be waiting for those official scores to be counted, and this thing, it might be more like a presidential election. We might be waiting a bit, not just because we're waiting, but because we got to figure out we get all this right, how close this is.
So just looking at it and just doing the quick math in my head, Lucas Lyons will not make it into the next round. Landon Cardulo will not make it into the next round. The rest of it, out of Ben Park, Lane Doyle, and Austin Purnell, I don't know which 2 or if all 3 will make it into the next round. If in case there is a tie, I can tell you Jose Castellanos not going to be in that next round, and neither is Jose Ruiz based off of the scoring right now.
Yeah, the other ones that we do know, Michael Larch did enough to advance. He needed to finish 20th. Kyle Spees needed to finish 30th. He did enough, as did Blair Holloman, who needed to finish 28th. He did enough, so that's 4 of those spots, so that gives us 7. There's still 3 up for grabs. Michael Madden should be good, but by the skin of his teeth, possibly.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, so that's going to leave those 2 spots, possibly more. Ties to advance. Keep in mind, coming in, Ben Park 4 points out, Lane Doyle 5 points out, Austin Purnell 5 points out, but Purnell did lead a lap. We know that. So, man, this thing might be coming down to ties.
Wow. The problem is we have so many different bonus points that you can get that there's no way to calculate it until you actually get the actual results. But
we don't know yet about the clean driver bonus, which is still out there as well.
Big time. All right, so Trevor Williams from JW Racing winning this race, definitely into the next round of the playoffs. Andrew Harris from PVR put on a great show tonight, led the most laps, I believe, but he will take 2nd. Ben Park from Tank Racing, pretty sure he's going to be there, but is he? I don't know. Lane Doyle from JW Racing in 4th, and Austin Purnell for Jonathan Byer Racing will await his fate in 5th.
As well, Landon Cardullo sitting in 6th place. Looks like he might be out, but we're still waiting on the official count there. Danny Dow, strong run tonight in 7th place. Lucas Lyons looks like his playoff run will come to an end as well, even though a great run tonight in 8th. Nathan De La Rosa, nice recovery after a rough stretch lately in 9th. And Bo Tiffany, strong run tonight, led a while here tonight as well. We'll round out the top 10.
Greg Olenek so close to another top 10, but just on the outside. In 11th, Matthew Greathouse for PVR. They're in 12th, already in the next round of the playoffs. Michael Larch for JW Racing. He will make it into the next round as well. Connor Cunningham for as an independent, but racing for Jonathan Byer Racing. Great race for him here tonight as well. And then, I'm sorry, not for Jonathan Byer, for Tank Racing. I apologize. And then Corey Stahl from Threat Level Midnight will take 15th.
16th place will go to Mike Lepicki. Jose Ruiz looks like he will be done for the playoffs as well. He will finish in 17th. Sean Kozier will be in 18th place. 19th place and enough to advance will be Kyle Spees. John Holliday will round out the top 20 out of 25 that finished on the lead lap in a field of 33.
Well, let's get these interviews started. Let's get Ben Park up here from Tank Racing. Ben, welcome up to the booth.
Thank you, sir.
Man, great run out there tonight. 3rd place. Really, really good run, and we're waiting to see if you made it to the next round, but how do you think this race went for you?
This race was awesome. I was really close to being number 1. I just couldn't get by Andrew there. It was tough. But overall, the race was great. Great pit stops. Good strategy. Reese is a beast.
Great drive.
Yeah, and that's been one of the things I was watching all race long, and it was hard to ignore was the strategy calls. And, obviously everybody could have made it on one stop when it came to fuel, but tires were so valuable tonight. How'd you come about that strategy on when to come in? It looked like you were one of the first ones each time on those pit cycles. What led to that decision?
It was all Reese, and we practiced earlier, and after so many laps, the tires just evened out to be the same, no matter what the percentage was. So Reese came up with this strategy. I just followed orders.
That
worked out.
You're right. Reese Schaefer is a beast, fantastic driver in the Cup Series. But so tell me about the next races coming up. Assuming you make it in, which I think you're there, but we won't know here for a little bit. But next race is on the schedule. You got Iowa, Auto Club, and Gateway. So a couple of relatively short tracks and then a 2-miler. What do you think about those?
I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty excited. I'm excited. Last season I finished 2nd at Auto Club. One of the good finishes of the season.
Did not know that. All right. Well, hey, who you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back to celebrating with your team?
I got to thank the sponsors, Hunterdon Anesthesia, Healthcare Billing, 213 Simware, Invader Zim Designs, RJ Bishop Designs, Berg Arts Designs, 3CHI for being on the car. Thank you guys putting on a great show every week. It's amazing. Got to thank teammates, Reese Schaefer especially. Thank Reese.
Well, man, great job here tonight. Congratulations on a 3rd place finish, and we'll see if you make it into that next round, but hopefully, crossing our fingers, we'll see you there.
Fingers crossed.
All right, buddy. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right, let's go see if we can't find Andrew Harris somewhere. Yeah, there he is. He's there at the Phoenix Virtual Racing Room. Let's bring him up into the booth and talk to him about his race. Andrew, welcome up to the booth.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Man, it is good. Very, very good out there. I know you led most of the way here tonight. Just didn't quite have it at the end. What was the difference?
I think that I just overran myself a little bit. Even there towards the end, I couldn't figure out 3 and 4. It's an odd track, and he's clearly better at saving tires, so I gave it all to Trevor on that one. I couldn't figure out how to save tires. I knew he was coming. I had Greg in my ear. He was telling me that they're coming. I know I was trying to race my own race, but I can't save tires like that. He's way better.
And a great run tonight. A big part of that's going to help out the team as well. And just kind of looking at these results, looks like PVR should have the win, and looks like Jonathan Byer Racing probably did enough to knock off Zuyo, so that should give PBR the spot unofficially, of course. That's kind of table math. Should give y'all the spot in the championship round. So what's kind of the, you got the Tier 2 championship, you've got the team side of things still developing, and you've had a good stretch here these last 3 races. How much does that mean, not just for yourself, but for the team side of things as well?
At this point, after losing out of the playoffs and just barely missing it, I am fully devoted to the team, and so that's all we were talking about tonight. Matt, obviously, he locked up his position in the playoffs, so this week he was just focused on the team win, which we know we did, and like you were just saying, we were kind of talking about the points too, and we think that JBR did do enough. So I think we're locked in, and that's my main focus. The Tier 2 championship I'm not too focused on because last week my VR shut off, or my whole computer locked up and shut off with like 4 laps to go, and I think I was in the top 10. That really would help me out, but obviously can't help those kind of things. But it's like mechanical failures in real life, so what are you going to do?
No, oh, definitely. I mean, so is it an advantage to you that you weren't in the playoffs and so you could kind of relax in this race? Would this have been a stressor for you?
Maybe a little bit. I was pretty stressed out this race anyway, because going back through each individual Kentucky race that we've done in the Truck Series, I've been inches from winning this race before, and so I knew that going into it. I knew I was going to be, fairly fast here. I like the track, even though I really don't know how to drive it. I'm just somehow fast here, and so I put the pressure on myself. And the team championship does mean a lot to me because Greg and Matt and Jose, Kevin, all of us are putting in a lot of work to try to get this team championship, and that's our biggest focus, and we're going to get it done.
Well, good deal, man. Congratulations. Great race here tonight. Who do you have to thank?
Obviously the team, you guys for putting this on, Greg for talking me through it, Matt he set up some practices this week, and everybody else that's watching the stream and everything. So, yeah.
Good deal, man. Well, congratulations once again, and hopefully you guys can keep that team rolling forward as we are rapidly approaching the cutoff for the team championship as well. So definitely have that to look forward to. But great work here tonight, and we will see you next week as we make it to Iowa.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Let's go, Phoenix.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. All right, let's see if we can't find Mr. Trevor Williams, and I know he's got fans out there in YouTube world that talk about him every single week, and now we have him up here in the victory lane. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, nice to be here.
Man, great work out there tonight, and man, we were watching the whole time, and we knew that the second that you were the last out of that top 10 to pit, that you had a shot at it. Tell us about those last 10 or so laps.
Oh man, they were pretty much, a copy of the last 10 or so laps of the run we had before when I was chasing Andrew down, and I was trying to set him up that whole run to get it, because I really just wanted to lead a lap and get some points, and I was trying to figure out how to set him up, and this track was so hard to pass tonight, and I guess I just learned enough that we played a game of chicken there at the end, and my tires were a little bit better.
And this whole race, it seemed to come down to tires, but at any point in that run, it really did seem like you and Harris were the two best trucks all night long. What was that balancing act on when to come in? We were talking with Ben Park a little bit ago about how everybody could have made it on one stop, but just the tires seemed so much of a priority tonight that it really altered the way that this race approached. So how did that strategy all come about for you?
So for me, after we got those first couple cautions, I was kind of just waiting to see what everybody else did. And, Andrew and I have been, it seems like we're good at the same type of racetracks because we've raced for the lead quite a few times this year. And when I saw him duck down that first run, I knew that it was, I had to come the next lap, and then, we did the same thing the next run. It was just, who's going to go first, and usually that's me. So it kind of felt good tonight to be on the good end of saving my tires and having the good stuff at the end.
Oh, man, you definitely made it work out there tonight. Tell me about now that you're solidly in the playoffs and everything resets next week, what's your plan for Iowa? What's your plan for Gateway? What's your plan for Auto Club?
Iowa's the real question mark for me. I've never really grasped that track that much. I'm just going to try to save my stuff, and we got to stay out of trouble. That's the number one thing. That's what can really kill you here. It's not the 11th, 12th, 13th place finishes. It's the 29th, 30, 31. So if we can stay out of them, I think we'll be all right. The team and I we'll work together, and we'll do the practicing the best we can, and hopefully at the end of the night we all have good points, and I'm pretty sure Lane made it through, so we'll have 3 of us trying to storm into that Final Four.
Sounds good, man. Well, who do you have to thank here tonight before we let you get back to it?
First and foremost, I got to thank my wife, because I was sleeping in the recliner a half hour before before the race started, and she came and she's like, "Don't you race in a half hour?"
I love it.
She saved me tonight. Secondly, Seth Reed, one of our teammates, he came into practice Sunday night, and he really, taught me a lot. I was kind of out to lunch, and he helped me out a lot. Of course, all my other teammates, Bo, Lane, Dean, and Larch there. We're a good crew. We work well together. Justin for, trusting in us and putting his name on the side of our car, and you guys putting on the show. I love racing for you guys. I say it every time up here, and shout out to my dad and Kelly and mom and wife and whoever's watching. It was a good night.
Yeah, man, definitely. Well, congratulations on another win or on a win here in Speed Racing Network, and we will see you in the playoffs next week. Keep it rolling, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Can't wait.
All right. Well, Brandon, we don't have to wait actually, yes, we do, because we're off next week. And, yeah, build week at iRacing, you don't get to race during that time. So,
lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but hey, let's talk about the next race, which is Lone Star 150 for the Xfinity Series tomorrow night, March 2nd at 8 p.m. We're headed to Texas.
Oh yeah, everybody's favorite track in real life, obviously, Texas Motor Speedway. But I tell you what, it always seems to put on a good race here on the server on iRacing, and it just always seems to be a good shot out there for everybody in SRN. And I love the way that track races for these cars. So it's going to be an interesting one. A whole lot on the line there for those Xfinity cars in the Silverback Tax Series as well. So we'll figure out those 10 that are moving on tomorrow night, and then we get a nice week off to think about what we've done over the past 17 races.
Well, guys, it has been a great race here tonight, and I'm so glad that we had this race at this track, because it was just a lot of fun, and all those drivers out there are super nervous. But we'll have to find out next week who made it through. But for all of us here at Speed Racing Network, for myself, for Brandon Domain, for Jason Tripp, the owner of Speed Racing Network, all of those things, we ask you and tell you to go faster.